Cherry, a quiet, introverted boy, writes a poem on his phone. As he puts the phone away and checks himself in the mirror, he starts to compose another poem, preparing himself for work. Smile is a pretty teenage girl who's insecure about her buck teeth. She practices keeping her lips sealed tight to prevent her buck teeth from showing. Unsuccessful, she hurries to wear a nose mask. This is her everyday habit. She checks herself in the mirror and encourages herself to smile, regardless of being insecure about her face. A feeble elderly man, Mr. Fuji, moves around Nouvelle Mall in search of an old Yamasakura record, desiring to listen to it one more time. Exhausted from his futile search, Mr. Fuji stands on the side of the road, lost in his thoughts. When Cherry exits the Nouvelle Mall, looking for him, he hurries across the road to him, barely missing a passing car. Depressed and nostalgic, Mr. Fuji gazes at the album cover of the Yamasakura record. As Cherry calls to him, Mr. Fuji, who has hearing problems, screams back at him. Startled, Cherry waits for Mr. Fuji to relax, then he asks him if he found the Yamasakura record, to which Mr. Fuji says no. Resigned to another disappointment, Cherry leads Mr. Fuji to the Nouvelle Mall. Meanwhile, inside a Tama dental clinic in the Nouvelle Mall, Smile gets her teeth checked. The dentist tells her that since she feels no pain nor discomfort, she's fine. He says brushing her teeth might be tough, so he suggests rinsing with an antiseptic mouthwash. Dejected and disappointed, Smile accepts and takes her leave. Stepping out of the clinic, Smile runs out of sight, ashamed, and puts on her nose mask again. She checks herself in a mirror. Trying to cheer herself up, Smile decides to make a live video for her fans, urging them to smile all the time. Then she gasps, surprised to receive several positive reactions. Encouraged, she continues with the video and shows several areas of the store. Meanwhile, in the security room, Shirai, a mall security, observes mischievous activities around the mall. He believes since it's summer break there will be more students coming into the store, which means some items will get stolen. Just as he speaks to another mall security, they notice a Hikaran cutout being stolen by a naughty delinquent, Beaver. As Beaver shows the cutout to his friend, a chubby miserable lad, Japan, who has always desired to have the Hikaran cutout, securities show up and give chase of him. Cherry, who's been watching a toddler race, hears a lady announce that the race got off to a false start and begins to look for a rhyming word. Smile, who's on a higher floor, sees the toddler race and goes to watch. Standing side by side without realizing it, Smile and Cherry are knocked to the floor by a fleeing Beaver, with their phones falling off. Shaken and disoriented, they stare at each other. Smile's mask comes off and Cherry sees her buck teeth. Realizing her insecurity has been exposed, Smile, without checking, grabs Cherry's phone and runs off. Cherry watches her cluelessly, thinking about his next rhymes. As the mall security continue chasing Beaver, Cherry picks Smile's phone and gets up, still trying to come up with a rhyme. Outside of the mall, Shirai discovers that his van has been marked with graffiti by Beaver, as a revenge for chasing him around. Furious, Shirai threatens to beat him to a pulp when he gets his hands on him. In the meantime, Cherry and Mr. Fuji arrive at an elderly care center, where Cherry works for the summer break. Akiko, another worker in the care center, asks Mr. Fuji if he finally found the Yamasakura record, to which he sadly answers no. Akiko asks Cherry to take off his headphones because it's not allowed at work. Another worker asks Akiko what Mr. Fuji is always looking for, so Akiko tells her he's looking for a record. Suddenly, Mr. Fuji screams at Cherry, startling him. He asks Mr. Fuji not to speak so loudly next time, but the old man doesn't hear him. Shirai, who's the grandson of Mr. Fuji, bursts into the care center, furious, and asks Cherry about the whereabouts of Beaver, but Cherry is clueless. Still furious, Shirai threatens to beat up Cherry if he messes with him, then he escorts his grandfather out. When his shift is over for the day, Cherry clocks out. While walking back home, Smile realizes she forgot her mask in her hurry and has taken someone else's phone, then she remembers it belongs to Cherry, who she'd seen on a headphones. Aghast, she races home. Meanwhile, Cherry arrives at a rooftop and meets Beaver and Japan yelling over the broken cutout. Beaver apologizes about knocking Cherry down earlier at the mall. Cherry says it's okay and tells him Shirai came looking for him. Arriving home, Smile runs into her room and, panicking, asks her sister, Mari, to help track her phone. Back at the rooftop, Beaver paints the floor with graffiti. He says he's trying to study Japanese through Cherry's poems. Calmly, Cherry asks him to stop tagging his poems all over the mall, as it's embarrassing to him. Beaver disagrees. He says the rhymes are nice. Cherry calls it haikus, not rhymes. Then while watching the sunset, Cherry gets new ideas for another poem. As he takes out his phone to write, he shockingly realizes that it's not his phone. On the other hand, Mari hastily works on her computer, seeking the location of Smile's phone. After finally discovering the location is around the mall, Smile impatiently runs off, but her sister, Yuri, calls her back and suggests they dial her number to know if it's been picked up by anyone. On the rooftop, Cherry tells Beaver and Japan that he must have picked the wrong phone at the mall. And just then, the phone starts to ring. Afraid, Cherry doesn't answer it. Beaver, running out of patience, snatches the phone and picks up the call. Cherry stutters, out of words. As they all wait anxiously, Japan puts the phone on a video call, and Smile scampers for a mask. Awkwardly, they stutter. As Japan recognizes Smile to be a famous curiosity influencer, Yuri immediately ends the call. After a moment to calm their nerves, Smile calls again and arranges to meet with Cherry. After finally getting her phone back, Smile and her sisters eat at a restaurant. While eating, Smile shields her mouth so no one will see her buck teeth. Her sisters stare at her cluelessly. At the elderly care center, the workers suggest that one new person be hired to help out, as they're all exhausted from working. At the Nouvelle Mall, Yuri and Mari ask Smile why she's so insecure about her buck teeth. They recall loving it when they were younger and saying she had a beaver smile. Smile retorts and says she's not a beaver. She admits liking it when she was much younger, however, she's convinced it looks ugly now, and that she also hates her teeth brace. Yuri confesses having her own insecurities too. While speaking, the girls notice Cherry, who's gloomy as always, talking with a lady they believe to be his lover. Jealous, they trail him. They find him with some old folks from the elderly care center, being asked to write a poem. When they're done, the lady takes the paper strips from them and reads one of the poems. Arriving at Cherry's paper strip, she summons him to read it. Cherry, startled, confesses his shyness at reading or speaking to a crowd. Smiling nicely, the lady encourages him to read it. Now having no other option, Cherry takes a deep breath and reads it. However, his voice is too quiet and no one hears him. Blushing and hating himself, Cherry takes another deep breath and reads it again, and this time he receives applause from the old folks, who were impressed. While Cherry is still sober, Mr. Fuji points to Smile and her sisters, spying on him. The girls fidget, caught. Later, Smile and Cherry walk home awkwardly. Trying to indulge in a conversation, Smile compliments Cherry's name, but he's too reluctant to talk. Not relenting, Smile asks him what he listens to on his headphones, which he admits plays no sounds. He confesses to her that he wears it to keep out noises and to keep people from talking to him. Smile thinks it's clever, then she asks why he attached a dictionary to his phone. Correcting her, Cherry calls it a saji, adding that it's a dictionary for writing haikus, which are poems. He explains to her that poems help him express his feelings in words, but he hates reading them out to people. Smile suggests he puts them out on the internet instead, but Cherry knows they're already on the internet, and no one ever reads them. After a final suggestion from Smile, Cherry is hit by a beautiful inspiration and composes a lovely poem about the weather, much to Smile's delight. As Cherry finally starts to get comfortable with her, he takes off his headphones. Later at home, Cherry checks his poems on the internet, but disappointedly, he gets no reaction. Depressed, he takes out a moving box and begins to stuff some of his belongings in it, in preparation for when he finally has to move out with his family. While having dinner with her family, Smile likes Cherry's poem, then her mom warns her to put her phone away from the table. Meanwhile, at dinner with his own family, Cherry sees Smile's reaction to his poem and scrams out of his seat in disbelief, hurrying into his room. Mari takes over Smile's phone and likes all of Cherry's other poems, while Smile desperately tries to take it back from her. After finally doing so, Smile goes aside to review what has been done. Cherry, on the other hand, gawks in disbelief. In time, Cherry and Smile begin to like each other's every posts, and Smile gets added to the elderly care center workers. However, they continue to struggle with their insecurities. One day at the elderly care center, Smile and Cherry are asked to drop off Mr. Fuji, as his grandson couldn't come to pick him up. When they arrive at Mr. Fuji's vintage record shop, he tells them that of every record in his shop, the Yamazakura record is what he's listened to the most, and he wishes to listen to it one more time, and remember something he's forgotten. Emotional, Mr. Fuji begins to cry. When Cherry and Smile realizes just what this record means to Mr. Fuji, they promise to find it, desiring to see him regain his precious memories. But suddenly, Mr. Fuji passes out. While returning home, Smile hopes Mr. Fuji will be alright. She thinks the Yamazakura record he's been looking for might be in his shop, but then wonders why he's always searching around the mall. Now trying to make conversation with Cherry, she asks him why he hasn't been wearing his headphones anymore. Cherry, gloomy as ever, says he doesn't need it anymore, to Smile's astonishment. The next day, Smile and Cherry begin to look for the Yamazakura record. They ask the old folks at the elderly care center, and they're told that Mr. Fuji used to work at a record pressing plant in the mall long ago, and they gasp in surprise. Smile and Cherry check the Daruma Festival posters for clues. They meet one of the mall security and ask if he knows anyone who worked at the record pressing factory, hoping someone would remember Mr. Fuji's past. Unfortunately, none of the mall security knows anyone, but they suggest they check Handoff on the 3rd floor, as they keep old records there. Arriving at Handoff, Smile and Cherry are told that there are no records on Yamazakura, but it's suggested to them that the record might have a picture disc. Thinking they're seeking a treasure, Beaver offers to join them in searching for it. Cherry and Smile visit an artifacts shop. There, they discover Sakura Fuji, a late singer and songwriter, and Fuji's late wife. She's the singer of the Yamazakura record they've been looking for. After trailing the address to Fuji's record store, they're told by Fuji's daughter that indeed Sakura was Fuji's wife, and that she'd fallen sick and passed away shortly after giving birth to her. She claims she was really young at the time and remembers nothing. She adds that Fuji opened the store briefly after her passing and has been selling her records ever since. Then she confesses that they'll be shutting down on the weekend, seeing the store as grown old and no one was willing to take over. Later at the Fuji record store, Sharai searches hopelessly for the Yamazakura record, but can't seem to find any traces of it. Smile tells them Fuji only wants to hear Sakura's voice, and that's why he's been searching so hard for it. Cherry asks Fuji's daughter if he can pack up the records too, as he believes the Yamazakura record is somewhere in the store, to which Smile equally believes to be a possibility. Somberly, Fuji's daughter admits to having searched the store for the Yamazakura record, but couldn't find it. Then she suggests maybe if they all looked for it together they'd find it. Cheered by this, Cherry says he'll enlist Beaver and Japan's help in looking. Sharai is clueless. He wonders what the record they're looking for is. Proudly, Fuji's daughter tells him it's a record of his grandmother. The next day they all begin to look for the Yamazakura record. Tired and in heat, they groan. As Smile yanks up her mask to feel some air, Cherry cluelessly suggests she takes it off, but she panics and lies that she's keeping it on because of the dust. Just then, Fuji's daughter announces she's made some noodles, making Beaver jump in excitement. While the others are eating, Smile stays away, afraid that her buck teeth will get exposed if she joins them, but she lies to Cherry that she's on a diet. Later in the evening, after searching through half of the store, the Yamazakura record remains unfound. Getting closer to the day they move out, Cherry packs several of his books into a moving box. As he lifts up a bookshelf, he discovers an old book on the floor. While reading from the book, he learns that Yamazakura means people with buck teeth. Smile, on the other hand, stares at Sakura's picture, discovering she also had buck teeth. Gloomy, she wonders how Sakura coped without feeling insecure. She wishes she could be equally confident in her looks. After another day searching the Fuji record store, the Yamazakura record remains unfound. Dejected and resigned, they leave the store. As Cherry and Smile also quit the store, he remembers how he'd found a book behind his bookshelf while moving it, so he urges himself forward to look behind the fridge. Finally finding the Yamazakura record, Smile yelps in delight. They hurry out to show the record to everyone. When Fuji gets summoned, he scrutinizes the record and approves it as being real. Excited, Smile offers to let Japan play the record, but Japan can't find the cable to the speaker, so Cherry says it's on the veranda and hurries out to get it. Smile, who's still excited, joins Cherry outside and shows him the fireworks behind the record. She solemnly tells him the Daruma festival is in 2 days and would like to see the fireworks together with him. Cherry is shocked and stutters for words. Smile doesn't know he's moving away on the same day. As he prepares to tell her, Japan screams at him from within, asking for the cable. Taking advantage of the distraction, he runs in. Smile, taking his silence for a yes, squeezes the record too tight and gets it warped a little. Afraid that it won't play anymore, she tries to straighten it, but then accidentally breaks it and muffles a scream, terrified. Suspicious of her sudden silence, Cherry asks her where the record is, but she's hidden it away behind her, disappointed. With tears in her eyes, she finally surrenders to the truth that she has cracked an old man's only hope. Depressed, Cherry checks his calendar, sad that he won't get to be present for the Daruma festival. Resuming at the elderly care center, he rehearses the Daruma folk song with the old folks, in preparation for the festival, knowing he won't be present. Smile looks cheerless. After the rehearsals, Smile asks Cherry to follow her when she goes to apologize to Mr. Fuji for breaking his record. Knowing she feels dreadful, Cherry accepts. While attempting to make her feel better, Cherry's mom, Maria, arrives and thanks the workers on behalf of her son, knowing they'll be gone soon. Later, while returning home, Cherry and Smile slug off in awkward silence. Cherry feels betrayed that Cherry didn't tell her about moving away. When he tells her he's known about the move since the start of summer break, she asks him what's to happen to their plans of seeing the fireworks at the Daruma festival, since they promised to go together. Cherry apologizes. Smile, however, feels like her world has ended. She tells him goodbye and leaves. Sad to see her so broken, Cherry breaks down and cries. Smile visits Mr. Fuji, just as he closes up his shop, and looking really dejected, apologizes to him. Later at home, Smile tries to glue up the broken record. Failing badly, she breaks into tears. Touched by her misery, her sisters hug her for support. On the day of the Daruma festival, Smile looks on, forlorn. All of a sudden, Mari breaks into her room and calls for her attention outside. Arriving out, Smile sees a lovely dress bought for her by her parents to cheer her up. Later, Smile and her sisters visit the elderly care center to apologize to Mr. Fuji again. Smile presents him with the glued-up record. While Akiko examines it, she abruptly points to a wall clock, claiming a similarity between the two. She takes down the clock and has Mr. Fuji examine it. Surprised it's actually a Yamazakura record, Smile gasps in excitement. Finally relieved, she takes a deep breath and thinks of a way to get this news to Cherry. Meanwhile, Cherry and his parents are already leaving. At the Daruma festival, the old folks sway to the music of Yamazakura record. Finally, Mr. Fuji begins to recall memories of his late wife. While leaving, Cherry recognizes the Yamazakura record playing on his headphones. While still dejected, he sees Beaver point a love message to him on the signboards, from Smile. Unable to contain his excitement, Cherry hurries out of the car and runs to the festival, looking for Smile. Pumped with desperation and excitement, Cherry faces his fears and addresses Smile in the crowd, intoxicated by love and adrenaline. Smile looks tearful and emotional. She takes off her mask, finally, and smiles beautifully at him.